Hello everyone, this is your guide, Ryan Phoenix, telling you to hurry back aboard the bus because it's time for another Speedy Tour. And today, we're going to go back to the roots of this channel with Vandal Hearts for the PlayStation 1. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to become the almighty, the all-powerful Vandalier. That's right, this video is going to show you, step by step, how to make Ash, the main character, promote to his ultimate job class. Now this may sound familiar for you long-time tourists here, as I did cover this on my original Let's Tour of the game, but many of you have requested a single video covering the topic, and that's what we're going to do, so let's get started. At our first stop, Chapter 1-5, in the battle against the Death Ant in the sand dunes. After taking care of the pest problem, we return to the tavern and talked to the lovely lady here. She would tell you that she hasn't been able to go tanning on the dunes ever since the Death Ant appeared. She will reward you by giving you the Nova Key. Next we move on to Chapter 2-2, in the battle where you meet Dolan and the others. This one's a little tricky there because you have to make your way around this horde of enemies and into this corner of the map. Examining this spot will yield the Macroman, an item which will become useful not now, but later. I'd recommend sending one of your fastest characters to go retrieve it. And in the very next battle, Chapter 2-3, we have another hidden item to grab. In this section of the poisonous swamp of the Loris Beach, you will find a no longer tasty fruit. When you find the strange banana, you'll be able to return it to the young man at the tavern of Una Village, and he will be so grateful that he will hand you the Earth Key, our second key. Now onward to Chapter 3-4. And while you are storming the gates here, on your way to ruin the Empire's day, make sure to check the spot here by the tree, in order to uncover a tarot card. Or just a tarot, I suppose. There's another item that you're just going to have to keep in mind for later. Now let's move on to the prison break, and Chapter 3-7. Even though you're trying to escape from prison, that doesn't mean that we can't do a little sightseeing first. While battling against Dumas, the rather imposing jailkeeper, you're going to want to step outside of the walls here to find this unusual spot. Examine it, and you will obtain the mana key. Now let's get off the bus and onto the train as we move on to Chapter 4-4. In this battle against the Crimson Guard General, Dallas, you're going to want to rush up to this car and check the floor grating in order to find the ramen. This is another one of the key items that you were collecting along the way. But now is when they come in handy. After this battle, head back to the trade city of Karachi. In the tavern, you'll find a man who collects rare and unusual objects. After showing him the Macroman, Tarot, and the ramen, he will gladly hand over the Chaos Key. Now before we move on to the next one, did you make one of your archers a Hawk Knight or a Skylord? Because you're going to need one in order for Ash to reach his full potential. So make sure that at least one of your archers takes his path when class changing. Now with that out of the way, we can move onwards to Chapter 5-4 and the battle against the Salamander. You'll see that you're surrounded by a whole lot of lava here, and in one of these pools of lava happens to rest the Logos Key, which is exactly why you need a Skylord, or Hawk Knight, whichever. Now with those 5 keys, you can head on to the final chapter, Chapter 6-1. If you have managed to not only collect all the keys, but all the prisms up until this point, we'll get to that in just a minute, talk to the weird man in the tavern at Glasgow City. After seeing your accomplishments, he will gladly hand over the Heaven Key, the final key, and thus leading you to the final trial. What's this trial, you may ask? Well, that's why we're gathering all these keys. In order for Ash to become a Vandalier, he must undergo the 6 Trials of Toroah, which means that there are 6 hidden battles that you must complete. Each one has a treasure chest that holds a prism, which will allow Ash to transform. In order to begin the trials, you have to first equip the key to Ash's inventory, and then head to the dojo. When you try to leave, you will be stopped and asked if you wish to participate in the trials. Saying yes will transport you to a new battle map. Now something that you want to keep in mind with these trials is that each monster in these battles has a level equal to Ash's current level. So if you want to make these battles easier on yourself, you can keep Ash from leveling up as quickly as the rest of your party. And that way, most of your characters will have a bit of a leg up in the battle. But that's completely up to you. It depends on how much of a challenge you want these battles to be. Your goal in each of these trials is to open the treasure chest containing the respective prism, and then destroying all the enemies on the map. And now we will go one by one, preparing you for each of the trials as they come in the game, starting with the Nova trial. This will be a literal uphill battle for both you and the enemy team. You'll be wise to split up your team evenly, going to the left and right sides, as you scale your way up to the top, where the chest with the prism lies. I'd recommend trying to get your archers to the top as fast as you can in order to rain down some much needed damage on the enemies below. The second Trial of Toroah, the Trial of Earth, you'll be fighting on narrow ledges surrounded by lava. All the enemies on this map are archer types, so you will definitely want to keep your flying characters back out of harm's way while having your swordsmen lead the charge. The chest with the prism is dead center of the map, can't miss it. And the third trial is the mana trial. This battle is again fought on narrow paths, with a single brigand at the start, and a lot of treasure chests. But don't be confused, only one of these contains a prism. The rest are mimics. Sad but true. The real treasure that you are looking for is in the top right corner, or the southeast by the compass, from where you start. Note that you don't have to defeat all the mimics, you just have to defeat the ones that have been awoken. So, you can either clear out the map, or you can go the minimalist route. It's up to you. But onward to the next trial, the Chaos Trial. This map is filled with golem type enemies, so your magic users will be very useful here. However, this is one of the more puzzling trials, as you have to push a series of crates in order to climb up a hill, then form a bridge that will allow you to reach the treasure chest on this high up ledge. Using your Skylords or your Ninja will be very helpful in speeding the process along. Just be careful not to defeat all the enemies before getting the chest. I find a little spellbind action to be quite handy here. Next up we have the Logos Trial, which is quite the long and winding path up this pyramid-shaped platform. The game decides to take it easy on you and place a chest right next to you from the very start, so getting the prism isn't the problem. Defeating all the enemies on this map, that's another story. The foes you'll have to be wary of on this pyramid include Guardians, which are armor type enemies, Basilisks, which are archer types, more of the flying salamanders, and 2 dark mages, who can ruin your day in the blink of an eye. As they say, slow and steady will win the race. I recommend being very careful as you make your way to the top. And finally, we have the last trial, the Heaven Trial, which is anything but heavenly. This battle takes place on 2 sloping hills, again fighting in an uphill battle against some familiar foes. That's right, some of your more notorious enemies have been resurrected for one final battle, and some of them even cloned. Enemies such as Zutgotch, Dumas, and the generals of the Crimson Guard all make their return, in almost zombie-like states. I really like the touch that they went with on the character portraits, making it look rather undead. These blasts from the past are also joined by dark mages and evil statues. The chest with the prism lies at the very end of the map. Don't worry about accidentally killing all the enemies off, because the final 2 enemies you'll have to deal with will be evil statues, which don't move around, so it's very easy to make your way past them and to grab the chest at the very end. So focus all your efforts on the battle ahead, because it is not an easy one. And after it is all said and done, you'll return to the dojo. You'll be allowed to transform into the ultimate class of Vandalier. A job well done. Although this takes place at the very last chapter of the game, it is more than worthwhile with the extreme overpowered greatness at your fingertips. As a Vandalier, Ash gains access to all the spell types that your other character classes can obtain, as well as all of the enemy magic spells that they use over the course of the game, and even is able to use items as spells free of charge without using any magic points whatsoever. Couple this with an awesome attack and defense, and you might have one of the most powerful characters in gaming. Don't quote me on that, but maybe. And now I will let you go forth and begin your own quest to become a Vandalier. I hope that this video will aid you along the way. I hope that you guys enjoyed this speedy tour. If you did, give me a like or comment below. I appreciate it as always, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay gold, YouTube.